So welcome everyone to the Going Solo workshop. This is the introductory workshop for a three-part series that we have specifically about solo entrepreneurship for small herbal business owners. I decided on this topic because I truly do have conversations with herbalists all over the world and on a regular basis throughout our month in the Herbal Circle and with the wider Herbal Entrepreneur community. And one of the recurring themes that kind of comes back at me is like how to set everything up, how to manage all of the different things that we have going on as small herbal business owners who are often doing everything. So all of those logistics from setting up the bank accounts and insurance and those sort of things, also learning how to market your products and services, and then going on to create the systems and being able to actually create a business that gives you the freedom that you wanted, because that is another thing that happens sometimes, is that people get going and then find they have even less time than they had before they started their business because there's so much to do. So this session really is looking at that strategic, overarching way of going about doing things as a solo herbal entrepreneur, so that you can hopefully follow the steps and start to build or create and bring into fruition your dream, what you want to do as an herbalist, but in a way that actually makes sense. So we're thinking about how to do that from the beginning so that, it can pan out in the way that it should. So I have some slides that I would like to share first of all, and then we can get into that side of things. All right, let's do this. So as I said, this is the introductory workshop to Going Solo, which is designed for small herbal business owners. And really the key is to show you the way, all the things that you might need to think about, and what is most important for you to think about in your current phase of business. And so before I did kind of get into the real details, I wanted to quickly plant that seed into your mind as to what is possible, okay? Because I am in the unique position of I truly feel honored, and I am so grateful for the position that I have of being able to host the Herbal Entrepreneur Conference, because through that I have met hundreds and thousands really of herbalists who are actually pursuing their dream of building a business. And in this specifically, I have spoken and interviewed hundreds of herbalists about what they're doing and their projects they're working on, what works, what doesn't. And it really is unbelievable what can happen, what you can get out there. You can do so many different things as an herbalist, and there are so many different pathways and things that you can do. Like I have seen people writing books about herbs, having gardens, foraging. Foraging can be the main part of your business if you go about that in an ethical and sustainable way, that you can really do that as your business. We've covered that at the Herbal Entrepreneur Conference in the past, as well as making products, clinical, seeing clients and helping them on their wellness journey. You can sell products, you can create classes, plant walks. There are just so many different things that you can do. And I have seen that. If you have attended previous Herbal Entrepreneur Conference, most likely you have seen that as well. And that is really at the core of Herbal Entrepreneur, is sharing those stories. And like I said, I'm in that unique position of talking with these hundreds of herbalists who have figured it out, who have been creating that business of herbalism. And I want to share that with you, because that is what we're about. We're about sharing the lessons, the takeaways, the failures, the wins, and bring that in and bring in the core lessons so that we can all learn from it. And so that is really what we're going to be sharing in today's session. I did also want to share a personal story to give you a bit of a background as to why I'm so passionate about entrepreneurship, and in particular solo entrepreneurship, because I have been, and I put it in like square brackets here, a real entrepreneur since 2014. And so it has been like a decade now of learning about business. But really, it started even before that, because as a lot of you know, I grew up in Australia, and I'm in a very, very isolated town in the Australian outback. This is a picture of our backyard at my parents' house and the home where I grew up. And even from like, I think the age of about 7, I had like entrepreneurial spirit in me right from then. I used to create all sorts of different business ideas and sell to my brothers and sisters and cousins and anyone who happened on our farm that was in the middle of nowhere, which was not very many people, but I still did work it out even at that age. So I grew up in Australia. I actually studied pharmacy in Australia. And that was really formative for me as well, in terms of learning how the pharmaceutical industry works, deciding that I didn't actually want to be a pharmacist forever through that course, but also the lessons and extracurricular activities that I did during that time really opened my mind up to the possibilities of what you can do. And it was a lot of how the actual industry works as well. I was very involved in the student associations of pharmacy. I was the president of the Students Association of Pharmacists. And because of that, I was invited to all sorts of industry meetings and learned so much about partnerships and how it all works, which is really important for entrepreneurship, which I will get to in a bit. After that, or kind of during that time, I met my husband now, who was my boyfriend at this time. And we actually moved to China together because my husband studied a master in business administration. And so that was in Beijing. And so there's a picture of the Great Wall of China, which we went to visit in that time. And after that, we moved to Italy. So that was the hometown of my husband is Florence, but we didn't actually move to Florence. We ended up going to a little town in the mountains of Tuscany, where I started to really get passionate in herbalism and interested in forming my own business, because this is where I was thinking about the possibilities and the positives and the real how you can create your own lifestyle and get out of the wheel of what is designed for us. And I started to think about that in this period here. And that was when I started to build my own business. So this is like 2014 time that I was mentioned at the beginning, where I started out with a freelance business. I was writing articles for other people. I was using my background as a pharmacist to write like medical-based articles. I also had my own blog at that time, which I grew primarily by myself as well. And then as I did that, I also picked up various different clients and was really involved in the building of businesses and learning how the business side of things unfolds and how to develop the mindset of an entrepreneur, which really did just set me up to learn so much more. And I would like to encourage you on that journey as well. Also, I just wanted to mention here that my journey has led me to lead live events as well. So this was a couple of pictures from an event I helped to organize in New York back before COVID. The thing that I'm pretty excited about at the moment is that I'm organizing a live event for herbalists in Tuscany next year. And so if people are interested in that, feel free to send an email because we have a couple of spots left. Going on from here, like I mentioned at the beginning, I have spoken with so many different herbalists, and this session today is really about bringing together all of the different pieces and working out what is the most important part for you to focus on. This is because one of the most important things that people get stuck on when they're working on their business on their own is actually what to do. Because as a solo entrepreneur, There are a lot of things to do, and it's hard to know what to do first. So like I said, it's not always a smooth ride. There are ups and downs to anything, and being an herbalist is definitely in on that, and running a small herbal business is most definitely in on that. There are peaks and valleys of solo herb entrepreneurship. There are really good parts, and there are really bad parts. And so with that in mind, I think it would be great to hear from you a little bit as well. And so in the chat, if you could let me know, what do you think are the biggest benefits of being a solo herbal entrepreneur? So let me know in the chat. I'm just going to check in on the questions. Okay, so there's lots of different benefits here. We've got practicing what I preach on my own way, pure creative expression, creative autonomy, freedom, excitement, don't have to clear any decisions with anybody else, time freedom, sharing my passion to help people, being able to pivot and have creative control, less liabilities, benefit to help others, healthier and natural remedies. I want to teach people in my community how to properly and cleanly eat. Freedom in creativity, expression of creativity, autonomy of time, healing formulas readily available for me and my family. Freedom to test out ideas, something that allows me to work for myself. Freedom and getting away from big pharma. Huge level of independence, calling your own hours, build the business that you love. Flexibility with your time, helping others heal naturally, live a soul-aligned business. I'm very particular in what I do and how I do it, and it's so much easier to make decisions. Yes. Help heal myself, family, and others in their healing journey, and less overhead. Yes, they are all great reasons, and I am definitely feeling that freedom and creativity across many of those answers there, which are huge for me as well. Like that, they are, I think, like freedom, creativity, impact, like just being able to actually do something that matters in this world. Like that is so important for me, and really why I am doing something that I care about. Like it really is that. Yeah, something that's not mentioned, I don't think, in the chat that is important for me is like being available or flexibility for family. Like that is really important for me with young kids, being able to run a business that I'm passionate about, but also like be present for the important parts of my kids' day. So my kids are currently sick. So before this session, I went and lay down with my daughter as she was having a nap, and was able to do that, even though it was like less than an hour before this started, which you just would not be able to do if you had a traditional job. So on the other side of things, the troughs, the cons, the valleys, what are like the things that are holding you back from solo entrepreneurship, or what are the challenges or struggles that you have? I think it's just as important to be aware of the negative side of things so that we can actually address them and make it better when it comes to the other side. Okay, so the negatives or the valleys, or the things that are challenging or struggles for us are the concerns about how to market the products, money, lack of space, giving up current high-paying job, making the time, lack of professional space at home, fear and money. One of my biggest challenges is feeling confident about all the business decisions, making sure I'm doing everything right in the correct order. Money and working a full-time job, knowing when to start, legalities, startup cost, funding resources, space, initial capital, steps and sales, money, space, pulled in 100 different directions and cannot keep up with all of the things that I want to do, legalities, balancing current 9 to 5 and focusing on the business. Legalities is another one. Overwhelmed with the departments to run, instability with funding, cost of advertising, space, money, moonlighting, everything it feels like. Great. This is so many different things to consider. And big ones I'm getting at here is the legalities, the money and time. So like juggling that. It sounds like a lot of you are like have a full-time job and are growing your business as a side hustle on the side, which does come with struggles. Like there are too many things to do and not enough time. But the good news is today's session is definitely going to help you with that, because it is all about the priorities and also the whole Going Solo workshop. Because like I mentioned with my story, I did kind of rush through it, but that is something that I have become very good at in terms of prioritization and deciding what is important at different times, because what is important for one person on here today is going to be different from someone else that's on here today, because it really does depend on your stage of business and what is going to make the difference for you right now. And like, I've got some questions that I'm going to share with you today that will help you to figure that out. Let's get back into it. I wanted to start with the overall picture so that you can see all of the things that make up the overall spectrum of entrepreneurship. And then we can take a look at the details a little bit more after that. So we'll start from that overview and then go into the details. Now, you will see that we're not going to be able, in terms of time, to get into all of the details today, which is why this is created as a 3-part workshop. So like I said, this is the introduction session, and we have 3 parts, which is going to go into each of these things in more detail to really get into it. Let's take a look at the different things to consider as a herbal entrepreneur. Like, this is really the main buckets that you should really think about, have a bit of an idea about as you go through and build your business. So the first one is planning. Okay, you need to have some form of a business plan. Great if it's properly written. We do have the business planning bootcamp. If you haven't done that, I would recommend going through that. Like, at the very minimum, have a bit of an idea of where you're going and planning. You need to have products. It's actually quite surprising how many people I speak to that don't have a particular idea of what they're going to sell. They might have I want to sell maybe some kind of class or something like that, but they're not selling anything yet. That's one of the first things you need to kind of get an idea on, what is it you're actually selling? Are you selling clinical consultations? Are you selling herbal teas? Are you selling admission to your classes? What is it that you're selling? You really need to get clear on that. Regulation. So we definitely had this coming up in the struggles when we were talking about the chat. What sort of legal things do you need to be aware of and abide by as you're going about your business? Branding. This is really important once your brand starts to grow and to gain recognition from people. They will start to recognize your brand and go, I've had that before and I want that again. That is what branding is all about. I hope that by this point, when you start to see the colors of Herbal Entrepreneur on my face or the logo of Herbal Entrepreneur, you start to think, yeah, I've attended that conference. This Going Solo workshop is probably going to be good because I've seen something like that before, and it means that this workshop is going to be good too. That's where the branding comes in, and it works for your products and services as well. Whether it's a class that they've attended and then they go on to see you as a clinical herbalist or something like that, the branding is very important there to get repeat customers as well. Marketing. This is something that a lot of people struggle with because of most herbalists and probably people in general don't really like to talk themselves up too much. So it is hard to continuously kind of say what you're doing as an herbalist, what your products are, and keep just broadcasting about yourself. But it is important as a business owner, because today's world of business is competitive, but we do need to get out there, and that's marketing is the channel to do that. Finances. This is another one that I know that a lot of herbalists just do not do well, especially, not especially, I would say across the board, to be honest. But I've seen this with product makers where they have no idea how much they're really spending on making their products. They maybe buy their herbs in bulk and they don't know how much of each herb is going into each product, and they don't know the exact cost of good. Or for growers, they have no idea how much time they're actually spending out on the farm and accounting for that time. And it's hard to keep that finance balance positive if we're not aware of those numbers. So just it is important to be aware of the numbers and the finances for a healthy, sustainable, profitable business that can actually go on into the future. And that is what we want. Okay, we do want our business to be here for the long term. And to do that, you do need to be strategic. You do need to have an idea of the numbers. And it doesn't have to take up a huge amount of your day. You just need to be aware of it. Okay, so you can still have fun in your element doing what it is you love to do as an herbalist, but you need to be aware of the finances if you want to actually make it into a business that you can do over the long term. Sales. This is different from marketing because when people actually give you money. Marketing is when you're like, it's before the sale, when you're talking about it. Sales is when someone says, yeah, I want that. Here's my money. I want your product. Like that is the sale. So you need to have a system of how to get the sale. That's including you asking for the sale. So like if you sell products at a market, for example, being confident enough to say, yes, this costs $40. Here's the machine to put your card. Like it's really just getting there. Or if it's online, setting up a checkout system. If it's a clinical herbalist, setting up a scheduling system so that people can and like a payment for the scheduling, because we're talking about sales here. Systems is what I'm talking about with scheduling. So this is where when you have repetitive tasks, we need to create systems for them so that they can come about more quickly and easily. This is, in my opinion, it's important across the board, but it is very important for solo entrepreneurs because when you are doing things yourself, the more things that you can automate or create systems for, the more like kind of mental space you're going to have. So really be aware as a small business owner, you've got a lot on your mind. So the more that you can simplify, the better. And with systems, you can do that. Like if you create checklists that perhaps if you make products, checklists for cleaning your areas, which you should do anyway for good manufacturing practices and things like that. But having checklists to lighten the load of your mind really does help to do that. Then once you do have systems set up, there's also the support side of things. So this is once people do buy your products, what happens if they are asking for help, if they need to return it, if they need help accessing it, if they need to know how to schedule an appointment. Like there's all different like types of things of support, but how you can ensure that customer satisfaction. Now, this might be a strange one to put into a presentation about solo entrepreneurship, but team is also important to think about, even if you are going things alone. First of all, there will be some things that you're not good at. And even as a solo entrepreneur, it is useful to outsource some small tasks. And that still counts as solo entrepreneurship. So that's very important, whether that be like outsourcing graphic design or, like there's all different sorts of things that you might outsource, but that's important. But also beyond there may be a point where you decide that you can actually free up your time with team. And so you start out as a solo entrepreneur, but you may grow into a team as well. Like that's completely possible. That's kind of the pathway that I have taken in that, now I have a team, but it was very much the first 7 years or so, it was primarily solo entrepreneurship. Scaling. This is like kind of strategy about how to grow your business. Okay, so this is really about like that growth side of things. Once things are working, once that ball is rolling, how you can get it to keep on rolling in the way that you want it to. And finally, productivity. So this is like time management, getting things done, prioritization, and just getting the things done that you said that you're going to do, which is, again, really important for someone who is working on a business by themselves predominantly. because there is just so much to do. And one of the traps that I see a lot of people doing is trying to do too many things at once. So multitasking over here, over there, all at once, and not really getting anything done because the energy is spread in all the different directions, so that they don't finish any of the specific tasks. And this is where like productivity really comes in. Like there's specific strategies that you can do to help this. Two things that I recommend to everyone, if you haven't heard me talk about them before, are like an everything list, which is like freeing up your brain, and also time blocking. So just like deciding on specific time to get a task done. And that definitely helps. So as you can see, there are a lot of different things to consider. And when you are one person trying to do all of these different little bits of pieces at once, it can get overwhelming very quickly. And so this is why I really want to emphasize here. And honestly, this is the most important point for the entire presentation today. And if you take like one thing into your brain, it is this: if you want to exceed, the most important thing is do not do everything at once. Okay. So I repeat, do not do everything at once. Okay. It is so important to decide, really sit back strategically, think about what is important for me to do in this moment, do that, and finish that before you do the next thing. So that brings us to the question, what should you do? You might be sitting here going, yeah, I see all of those things that I should be doing, and I need to do all of them because I'm not doing any of them well. Where am I meant to start? What am I supposed to do? And this is where it really does depend on your current stage of business. So I know that here we have listing today people who are like literally just starting their herbal business, or maybe they don't even have a business yet, just have an idea. Some people who have their business set up, have been making some sales for a while, and but maybe struggle actually getting a lot of people to buy it. And so like there's just like it's not taking off, it's not actually making the money that they are hoping it will. And then we have other people who have it all going and just don't have any time to get anything done. Maybe they've still got a full-time job and their business is going really well, and they're like, maybe it's time to quit, but they're not quite sure yet because there's like not that security of income yet. And so just there are all different things, and it depends on where you're at. So let's have a look at these different stages that there are. So first group we have of people who are like those starting out group. In this group of people, the most important thing that you can focus on is the overall strategy and product development, so that you can follow a path that leads to your primary goal. So this is where thinking about what you actually want, what type of business do you want to do, and so visioning out like how many hours a week you want to be working, what you want to be doing with that time, and what sort of products you want to offer, like really figuring that out. So that's where you'll be writing the business plan, getting the products created, if it's like a physical product then manufactured, or if it's you're a clinical herbalist, for example, working out how the packages would look, or if you're going to do individual consultations, but really just getting clear on what your product is, what your offer is, and how that's going to work. The second group of people are people who have a growing business, okay? So they're in that phase of growth, but they maybe not there fully yet. And the most important thing for people who are in this growth phase is the sales and marketing, okay? So at this phase, more than the other stuff, you need to actually prove that your business can generate a profit. And the way to do that is to reach more people and to make them into regular customers, okay? So to give them a service that they want to purchase. And so this is where you are testing out different strategies to gain attention, that marketing, and to convert, to get them to say, yes, I want to buy your product. And here it's just focusing on that. You just need to sales and marketing, until you get to the point where you suddenly have a lot of money, but you have no time. The systems behind the scenes is a mess. And at that point, when things are established, you have the cash coming in, it's time to optimize. And that's where you can create the systems and become more efficient in the way that your business runs. And that's when you start to really see that freedom as well. It can come as a shock to a lot of people that in this stage here, the growing phase, you may actually have less freedom than when you start your business. And this is a shock for a lot of people because, like we mentioned at the beginning of this, that the freedom is one of the key reasons that people create their own business. And it's really important to be aware that in this phase, you might feel like you have less freedom because you really do need to kind of hustle a little bit to get that cash flow and revenue coming in. And that's where it is important to learn that marketing. Like it's a mindset thing. And once you do get there, it is onto the systems and optimization. So let's see in the chat. Does anyone know what stage they're in? I'm curious to know. Let me know what stage you're in. Lots of starting out. Also, I just have a question which I will answer. Monica asked, isn't it important to set systems first? It depends what sort of systems. The basic systems will fit in under the business planning. So that's starting out system. So yes, there's some systems that you need to do first. And this is especially true for product manufacturers. You will need to do that in more detail earlier because there is the good manufacturing practices, which you obviously need to do records as soon as possible from when you begin your business. However, when it comes to more in-depth systems, you can do that at a later point, and it makes sense to do that at a later point because it's a very time-intense thing and energy-intense thing to set proper systems. And it doesn't make sense to do that until you've generated the cash, okay? So here's like an example of this is when you are being able to delegate to someone else, okay? So once you're actually at that point where you can get someone else to do something for you, but you want them to do it in the same way that you do it, and so you set the systems. And the same with like automations and things like that. The more things that you can automate, the better. Again, some of those you can do earlier, but I would set the bigger systems later on. So I have a couple of simple questions as well to help you figure out what stage you're in and just to get you thinking, get the wheels turning in your brain as to where you're at. So here are the simple questions that I will ask you now. The first one is, do you have an offer? Okay, so right now, do you have something that is available to sell? So if someone comes up to you in the street and says, can I buy something from you? Is the answer yes or no? Yes, yes, mostly yeses, a couple of no's. Okay, great. Yeah, so mostly yeses, a couple of no's. This is the first question. If you're a no here, if you do not have an offer, you're definitely in the starting phase. That is where you need to start. You need to have some form of offer. And I talk about this a lot in the Herbal Circle. I remember one particular member, I was talking for, I think, several months about like, so what's your offer? What's your offer? And eventually we figured it out what her offer was, what her target market was, but you need to have that offer before you can really call it a real business. You need to have some form of offer. The next question is, do you have a plan? Okay, so do you know where you're going with this? Yes. Do you have a plan of the finances, how it's going to grow or not? Are you just flying by the seat of your pants? How is that? Let's see. Yes or no? Yes, kind of. Yes, kind of, sort of. Yeah. I think this is common with the plan. A lot of people have a basic plan, but not an in-depth plan. For a plan, by the way, it is a really good idea to time block this. As far as if you set in your calendar like 2 hours to create a plan, okay? And you're only allowed to plan your business in those 2 hours. It's going to force you to plan in those 2 hours rather than scroll through social media or do anything else. But it also sets a a limit on it. You'll be surprised in how much you can get done in 2 hours. First of all, it's like quite a lot, but you will get more done because you set a limit on the amount of time than you would if you were just like, oh, I'm going to do a plan this week. Then you just won't kind of get anything done. But if you say, in these 2 hours, I'm going to create a plan, you probably will. So if you're one of the people who doesn't have a plan, I would recommend doing that. I have no plans and no idea how to actually make one. Okay, if that's you, honestly, you should get the Herbal Business Plan Bootcamp or join the Herbal Circle, because that like shows you through, like literally has questions and steps to help you create a business plan. Also join us for going solo, because we're going to go over this as well. But like I have specifically a business plan in that. So if you're specifically wanting to do a business plan, it makes sense that. But we will get into this in going solo as well. Next question. Do you have sales coming in? Okay, so this is like, do you have people buying your products? Yes or no? Occasionally, no, yes, no, no, not yet, yes. This one's a little bit mixed. So this seems like it's a bit of a struggle here. Yep, no, just making. Okay. So this is like, if you're in this stage, if you have the products but you don't have sales coming in yet, the things to focus on is the sales and the marketing. It's about how to actually bring people in. Now, don't be fooled in that you do not have to be everywhere at once. You can also be strategic about this, and it's important to do so if you have a small team or it's just yourself, in choosing like one platform and doing it really well, choosing one market to show up at and doing it really well, just really being selective, but getting out there. Yes, but not steady. I suck at this part. There are a lot of things to do to get better at this, and it is something that you will get better at with practice. Like I honestly promise you, I feel like I am much better at this than I used to be. And it's because I, one, worked with other people who were good at it, and I watched them and learned from them and started to adapt based on that. It is possible. It truly is. I was not good at this and I feel like I am better at marketing now. Great. Okay. Now I think we've got one more question. Do you have more clients than you can handle? No, no, no. We're getting lots of no's. This is something that happens quite often for clinical herbalists, okay? When you like have consultations, they get to a point of overwhelm because there's more requests than they can handle, and they end up like booking up their whole week with appointment after appointment after appointment, and it's just like, oh my goodness, I cannot do this all myself. And that's where it comes to pricing is one thing and systems is the other. So it seems like most people on this call do not currently have more clients than they handle, so they're not in that section. But I've definitely seen this on the clinical herbalist side of things in particular, and also product makers as well, when you're out of stock continuously because you just can't keep up with the demand. That definitely happens as well. So it's just where it gets to a point, and this is where you've kind of progressed from that second to the third group of the people know about your business, and it's time to up the systems. That's what I was talking about, how the systems is in this third level, because you need to upgrade the systems when you have that higher demand. And another question, do you have lots of cash on hand? I'm going to assume if the answers were mostly no for the other one, it would probably be no here, but we'll see. Because this is another sign that you're doing well in the group 2 section. And this does happen. Like this happens as well when you don't have freedom because of you're working, and you end up having a lot of cash on hand and no time because your business is working well. But at the same time, things need to be readjusted because it, I mean, obviously you want to have a lot of cash on hand. That's a good thing. But it does happen that it's kind of too much at once. And that's where you need to be focusing on the systems. So we do have a couple of yeses. So that's good. And that's where like, yeah, it's the cash is coming in. How can you actually keep that system going? How does it go through? And so if you're in this section here, if you have that cash on hand, it's time to really think about the systems and how you can optimize in there. So to recap, recap on the different phases, where you fit in this and what makes sense for you to follow on. If you're starting out, it makes sense to focus on the strategy and product development. So this is like, just getting things set up. If you're in that growing phase, the most important thing is bringing in new customers and increasing your revenue with sales and marketing. If you're at that established point, you've got to get that consistent cash flow. It's time to optimize. So you've got the resources, and it's just creating those systems to be more efficient in the way that your business runs. So how do you actually prioritize the right activities in your day? The first step is to know your current stage of business. The second step is to understand your priorities. So if you're thinking about those like 12 little boxes, the different things, which one of those are most important for you at this point in time? And adjust your actions accordingly. So again, we're bringing back these things to consider. We've got the planning, the products, the regulations, the branding, the marketing, the finances, sales, systems, support, team, scaling, productivity. There is a lot in there, but you most likely only need to focus on 2 or 3 of these at a time. Even better, like really focus on one and then move on to the next one. So let's bring it back to the chat again. Which ones, at like where you are currently at right now, do you think that you need to be focusing on? You can say maybe, a couple that are most important for you. So we've got a big mix of people. So everyone does seem to have an idea of what they should be focusing on. So like regulations, marketing, sales, branding and marketing, products, planning and branding, regulations, finances and systems. Okay, good. So we've got a bit of a mix, which means that people are focusing on a couple of things, but no one is saying like they need to work on everything, which is good. That's I definitely prefer that you're focusing on one thing at a time. And so I just wanted to give you some examples here about like how this is relevant across the board for different sort of herbal businesses. For those of you who have attended other herbal entrepreneur events in the past, I really like to showcase how there are all different pathways as an herbalist that you can take. This particular program, because like I said, this is the introductory workshop for going solo. This one here does make sense to do for any type of herbalist. So it's not specifically for any, because this is really about like business strategy, marketing strategy, and system strategy. Like that's what it's about. And so it makes sense across the board. So like for a farmer, for example, if they are like literally getting started, it would be about like actually growing plants. Like you need to get the plants happening before you can sell them. So that would be that first stage. And then once you have the products, there's that different realm of things of selling the dried herbs or the value-added goods, whatever it is that you sell from there. And that is totally different from growing the herbs. Like being able to grow quality herbs is a different skill set from selling quality herbs. And you need to do those at different stages in your journey. And so like that's figuring out the step-by-step process there. The same with making products. Making products is totally different from selling products. And so it's about how you can create the quality product first and then go on to actually be able to sell them. A lot of these things do go hand in hand because the marketing side of things actually helps if you can show behind the scenes making of your products or behind the scenes growing of your products, because it connects people with what you're doing and they're interested in it. So if you do this in a smart way, showing your work and sharing what you do as an herbalist can really help to increase interest in what you're doing and that side of things too. Is selling products. So if you have like a shop, there's that setup phase when you're getting the shop kind of up and running, getting the lease, the logistics side of things. And then again, getting people to come in and buy your products and the working out the systems there once it's more established too. A clinical herbalist is a little bit different in that there's more upfront work in terms of your knowledge. But if you already have the knowledge to, you have the skills to be a clinical herbalist, there's less to actually upfront make, or like you don't have to grow herbs or make products, as far as you just need to create a system to book people and then get them to come in. And then it's actually, there's more work on the back end as a clinical herbalist, because you need to see your clients and help them with their goals throughout that process. So that's like a little bit different to the other two in terms of the process. Teaching is more similar to the clinical herbalist in that, yes, of course, you need that knowledge to start off with, which is a huge amount. But once you actually sell it, the delivery is usually afterwards. So like if you deliver the course or the program or the plant walk or workshop or whatever it is that you're doing, it's usually after people join. And so is it possible for you to run a profitable herbal business largely by yourself? Like, this is the question that I would like to pose to you today. And the answer is yes, because I have seen it done. Truly myself, I mainly ran my business by myself. And this included also things like in-person workshops as well that I've done in the past. It was mainly by myself that I did that. And there are so many advantages to doing this, but you do need to use your strengths to your advantage so that your uniqueness comes out. Like, that is where, like, that is the key to it, because what you have to offer to the world is valuable and it's unique. It's different from what someone else will be able to offer. And so that's like kind of the key to unlocking what comes next. And also, you don't have to be alone forever if you don't want to be, because a lot of solo entrepreneurs are solo in the beginning phases because of the cash flow problems. There's not quite enough cash to hire out other team members yet. And so that where it does come to, like, there will be that time. And like, if you do follow it and adjust according to your failures, you will get to that phase where you have more cash than you need, and there will be resources to be able to free up your time and with team members if that is what you would want to do. So can you do this? That is what I would like to help you to do with the Going Solo workshop series. So like I mentioned, today is the first, it's really the introductory, the taster session about how this series is going to work. It's basically going to be a 3-day series starting next Tuesday. So it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Each session is roughly about 90 minutes of time, and it's going to include a bit of theory, but it will be a live session and actually include discussions between small groups and things like that as well, so that you can really gain clarity on where you want to go and those sort of things there. Honestly, right now, I would recommend joining Going Solo if you haven't already. I know quite a lot of people on here today have already joined us for Going Solo. And we do start next Tuesday, like I said, and this is going to be like the in-depth version in the way of like, I'm not holding anything back. I am planning to give as much value in as little time as possible. So it's not going to be fluff. It's going to be like really, this is the most important things with the theory and the like kind of practical side of things. And in addition to those 3 sessions, we're going to have a implementation workshop the week after to really go through the nuances of each person's individual herbal business. So you can go away for that week, work through the worksheets, the questions, and really create a plan of where to go next or what you want to work on. And then we can give you personalized feedback in that implementation workshop the week after. So inside the Going Solo workshop, we're going to cover all of this in more detail. Okay, so the planning, products, regulations, branding, marketing, finances, sales, systems, support, team, scaling, and productivity. We're going to cover all of it in more detail. Essentially, we're going to cover those first 4 in part 1. So this is like the planning and regulations, that like kind of setup phase. Part 2, we're going to talk about marketing, finances, and sales. And then in part 3, we're going to talk about the system, support, team, scaling, and productivity. Okay, so we're going to split those up into the 3 different parts of the workshop series and talk about them in more detail. My question for you today is, would you like to join us? I hope so, because I have been working on this for several months now, and it really does draw a lot on my own experience, but a lot on what I've learned from other herbalists in our community as well. And for everyone who does join Going Solo, we've got some lovely bonuses for you, which are chosen specifically to help with some of the main challenges that herbalists do work through. So this is the Going Solo checklist, which is just like a checklist to go through everything that is important for you as a solo entrepreneur. The Designed Herbal Business and Life Guide, a time and priority matrix planner. This is so important for being able to decide how to use your time. We will have just a little bit of amount of time to dedicate to anything. Dedicating that time to the right thing is super important. The decision tree making template. This is again important for decreasing that mental load of making decisions later on by systematizing it, and the scale and growth planner for the future as well. So these bonuses are all included when you join us for Going Solo. Basically, from now until the day before the workshop starts is the best time to join us. And then we will be starting next Tuesday. Will the sessions be recorded? Yes, they will all be recorded, and you'll be able to, yes. So basically, Going Solo, I'm planning to make this a ongoing product available, and this will be available on demand in the future, but at a higher price. And this means that you will get lifetime access to everything forever. So the workshops will be live. You'll be recording them live. You'll be able to ask questions as well. So that's already awesome because of it's the live experience, but you will have lifetime access to them as well as any updates as well. That is what I usually do with my products. For example, the GMP pack has been available since 2019, I think, and I've updated that properly several times. But people who purchased that at the beginning when I first launched it, never had to pay a cent more and got access to all of the updates and those sort of things. Do I have the schedule yet? Yes. So the schedule is next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I have currently made the sessions all at this time, so all at 9 a.m. Eastern time. However, if you're interested in attending and this is a really inconvenient time, send me an email and let me know, because if I am listening and if we get a lot of requests, I may change one of the times to a later on time, because it is I want to make it work for everyone, so as many people as we can. So we might be able to mix the times up and have different times throughout the day. But the plan is for them all to be at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, good question. How do we register? I need to get that link up. So this is the link to join. And yeah, basically from now until next Monday is the best time to join, because the series really does start on Tuesday. Good question. I'm just gonna so someone asked me a personal question about whether I did self-study to become an herbalist, or since I was already a pharmacist, or did you go through an official program? A bit of both. So I've been studying herbalism since 2015. And I started out with the Herbal Academy, like a lot of people have. I think it's a great place to start your herbal education. But since then, I've continued I'm a big believer in continuing education in general. So I'm a current student of Maria Noel-Grove's advanced herbalism program. And I've actually kind of been a returner there for a couple of years now, which is great. Also, I'm a part of a couple of Lucy Jones has a Patreon where she does advanced clinical herbal studies each month. I think it is. It's once per month. I think it's twice per month. And I do that as well. So basically, not just my pharmacy studies. I've done herbal specific study as well, self-study and with courses. A couple of questions about going solo. So it's all 3 sessions, and so they're all live, all in a group session like this, but we will have time for breakout rooms and things like that as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, I have been planning this out for it's a really long time ago, and I was I've been planning it out. I'm really, really excited to share what is going to come up in this. So yeah, how long does it last each day? Around about 90 minutes. So it'll be around about that 90-minute mark. I'm a forever herbalist. It's all fascinating and beneficial. There's so much to learn. I know. I love that too. That's something I love about herbalism, is that like it gets better as you get older. Like I'm kind of looking forward to being a really old lady and having good herbal background, because I just think it's such a good field to be in for when you grow older. I'm getting forward to being old because I'm going to be an old herbalist. Yay. Such a silly thing. Do you recommend going solo over the business plan bootcamp for a phase? Right now, I would recommend that for going solo for anyone. If you just really want to do a business plan and you just want to do it properly well, just go and do that. Like really what I would recommend is join going solo and then work it out from there, because we're going to give you a good like overview of things. The business plan bootcamp is essentially like a business plan template. You can get both, but I would wait if I were you, because during the series we're going to be talking about some different options, and I would just wait if I were you and get some little surprises and bonuses. So if I were you, I would join going solo, and we'll work out the plan from there. But the Herbal Business Plan Bootcamp does include like a template of the business plan and like questions to help you fill it in. If you like are at that beginning stage yet, like honestly, just join going solo and I'll help you. Like that's the best place where I can give you live help now. But if you want to get the business plan on its own, you can as well. And someone else studied pharmacy and nursing, and that turned me into a master herbalist. Yeah, it does. It's a really common thing for a lot of people, I think, starting from that more traditional background and transitioning across. Yes, the implementation session is included. There will not be one-on-one sessions included. That's not a possibility for this. The best thing to do would be to show up live. If you have questions, ask them in a group setting. And often I find that other people have just as good suggestions as I do anyway. Like it's really about being in that group. Like sometimes if you have a specific question that you ask, or a specific struggle, it quite often happens that someone else on that call has experience that will help you. This happens all the time in our herbal circle, about like just one person helping another one. And it's really not about having one-on-one sessions. It's about like coming together to help each other. In this session, I am obviously going to be leading going solo, but the implementation sessions are the time to get things going. The Herbal Circle is currently closed at the moment, but we are going to be opening up the doors. If I were you, I would, I really would recommend attending going solo, because we're also going to have like some bonuses for people who basically you will kind of get a credit for your purchase anyway to use towards the Herbal Circle. So that is how it will work. Cool. All right. I think that basically brings us to the end of today's session. If anyone has any questions that I missed, feel free to type them in again now, because I feel like I've answered them all, but I may have missed some. Oh, that's a good question. Could you do an evening offering so that those who work days could be in a live offering? Okay. Evenings are difficult for me because I'm in Italy. So your evening is my middle of the night. But in the Herbal Circle, we do have evening session times, because I'm not the only host, and we have Caitlin who also hosts sessions, and that helps with that particular thing. But for going solo, I think the latest I could do, probably like evening, it's difficult to do, but we may be able to do one special one, like just like a bonus implementation one or something like that. That, not promising anything, but I might be able to. We'll see. All right. I think that's everything for today. So yeah, I hope that you'll be able to join us next Tuesday. That's when going solo officially starts. We've got Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I hope you'll be able to join us. I would love to see you there. It really is a great point of like re-energization or starting, really just to get things moving in your business. You've had that idea. Now is the time to actually get it up there, out there and going. And that is what I like really would like for you to be able to do. So if that's what you're kind of here for, that's what you want to do, let's do it together. Let's, see you there next week for when we start going solo on Tuesday. And let's see kind of what happens, what comes out of this. Thank you for coming, and I will see you soon.